What's up, dudes? So these were some yummy like breakfast burritos, some egg and bean for me, that I made last week. My friend Nicoa was over. Um, and so yeah, just watch me make it or whatever. But I want to talk about this interaction I had at Winco last night. That was so fascinating to me, and I've been thinking about it since then. Basically, I was in like the chip aisle, and this woman came up next to me and was looking at like the Cool Ranch Doritos, and she was kind of like loudly and kind of like one of those things where she's talking to me, but there's a little plausible deniability if I wasn't into it, which is a polite thing to do, I think, when you're talking to strangers like that in the internet or the grocery store, not the internet. What the heck am I talking about? Anyway, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, the package is so small." And so basically she was pointing out like the shrinkflation, if you've heard of that. Like companies are basically just giving you less product. It's like seltzers that used to come in a 12 pack now come in an 8 pack for the same price. And people were just used to buying whatever, and like they don't even show the weights on packages very easily. So we just kind of deal with it. But this woman, she seemed like she probably hadn't bought Cool Ranch Doritos in a while, and so it was just apparent that the large bag of Doritos is now way smaller. And so I was kind of like talking to her about that, and she was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's called shrinkflation," and I don't like being like presumptuous or an explainer, but when I do know something that someone's looking for, like I will explain that shit. I like it. Which is probably why I keep talking on this goddamn this video series. Anyway, where was I going? Oh yeah, and so I was like walking away from that, and then there was this younger guy, probably around my age, like in his 20s, and I don't know. He like I was wearing my Vampire Weekend in a Bernie font shirt, and he said he liked the band and liked the shirt, and then he was like, "Yo, what was that about?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just explaining like shrinkflation to her," and then he didn't know what it was, so I was explaining it to him now, and he brought up something about what was it? Basically, just like, "Oh yeah, like shit's so expensive," talking about inflation and being like, and we just kind of he seemed eager to talk, and I really like that. I mean, I think I seem that way too, and I'm so appreciative of my friends who let me just like dump out all my thoughts on them. And it's just cool. Like, I guess this probably doesn't come as a surprise, but I am someone who strangers will just like approach, or who acquaintances will trust very quickly. um I don't know why that is. Other people understand it more than I probably ever will be able to, but it's something I'm lucky for and I appreciate. I'm very grateful for that. I have the respect and trust of people, and it's okay if I don't. It's not a given. But anyway, where was I going with this story? Oh yeah, this dude and I kind of get talking, and just like, yeah, inflation sucks. I was like, yeah, shit's just like not great. And he brought up basically like how he's like, yeah, I don't think things are getting better, but I'm just like gonna be okay with it. And I was kind of of the same mind, because I mean, probably my opinions is just like, yeah, there's a lot of trials and tribulations on the horizon, and a lot of these things though are so out of our power to deal with or to like be responsible for. Um, and so it's just kind of like I don't know. It's a worried, but it's like you just gotta know that what you can control, and there's still a lot that we can do for each other and for ourselves. Um, but yeah, so it's just kind of like a mutual understanding of like, oh person, I see you. Oh person, you see me, and oh, we both are like feeling kind of dreadful, and we're like acknowledging this shared dread that we share, and this shared like pessimism, which is kind of a wild thing, especially in American culture. Especially the last like 60, 50, 60 years has been such a strain of like intense positivity, and parts of that is because the prosperity that came from being like the only industrial country left undamaged after World War II, and we just like rode that out for a while. And the gas has been running out on that probably ever since the Volcker shock in the 70s. And so we're just like slowly, yeah, hitting more and more economic obstacles. So the free ride feels like it's starting to go over, and us that are just entering into our adulthood and entering into previous times where previous generations were doing better financially, there is this sense of dread, and there's a lot of other things to that like stress us out and that people hold, and some people are stressed out more about this crisis than this crisis. But as the economist, and I think he's a historian of crisis, Adam Tooze, I really like him. He's basically coined this period we live in as a poly crisis, because there's just so many things going on and so many things that we can't really keep track of, and so many institutions and cultures and traditions are kind of changing in ways that are very unpredictable, and is leading to like an epistemological crisis in so many different facets of our world. Wow, I'm getting really big brain on this one. I'm nearly at the end though. And so I think so many people have this shared sense of doom, um because of a lot of things that are very legitimate to be worried about. And there's some things that people have a sense of doom about that are like just not really big problems, and things that are getting demonized or pushed by parts of society that I disagree with. um that was vague. Okay, I'm nearly at the end of this. This one's going way too long. Oh my gosh, I'm a silly Billy. But people are freaking out, and it's also hard to talk about big existential fears and terrors. And it's like, I think one of the reasons so many millennials and Gen Z and young people have like such bad anxiety is because we've been living with this knowledge of climate change, or knowledge of, oh, the crisis. And I mean, I'm not the first to talk about this, and all the things our generation's gone through. And maybe some people hear this and they just immediately tune out because they don't like to hear millennials talk about how hard they have it. But oh well. Yeah, so anyway, this was an interesting little run-in with a stranger, and I think I was able to kind of like give him my take, and he seemed really appreciative of that. And like, it was just one of those things, like he just like had a grin on his face. And I really like those little random moments, especially when I'm out in public. I'm not the most like warm, friendly, approachable. So I'm kind of just focused, especially in a grocery store. But this dude found me out, and we shared this little human experience. So that's 8 minutes of me rambling. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Hopefully that made sense. Goodbye.